Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the honourable gentleman for mentioning my local golf course. As the MP for Royal Troon, we look forward to welcoming people in July. But I wonder whether the Secretary of State would discuss with his other colleagues on the front bench about having a regional strategy for smaller airports, in that Prestwick you fly in over Royal Troon, and perhaps while the Chancellor is in a listening mood, to consider perhaps a VAT reduction for rural tourism, which would help many constituencies across the
This is the first opportunity in Parliament to put on record our total revulsion and condemnation of the terrorist atrocities in Brussels, and our solidarity with everybody affected, and we join with the Secretary of State for Scotland in that. Mr. Speaker, the promotion of the Ryder Cup in Scotland was a huge achievement for the Scottish Government and the then First Minister Alex Salmond. Today is the last sitting day of the Scottish Parliament, so given that he is standing down from Holyrood, can I pay tribute to him in his remarkable tenure as an MSP and First Minister, and to all others of all parties who are retiring? Mr. Speaker, does the Secretary of State agree that there is much that can be built on following the Ryder Cup success, and how does he plan to contribute towards that? Thank you. Tourism is one of the most important industries that Scotland has, and golf and whisky are key drivers for people visiting the country. So does the Secretary of State welcome local initiatives to better promote iconic Scottish regions and locations, such as Speyside? And what encouragement would he give to public and private sector partners in making the most of world-class potential as a tourism draw?
Blackman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Minister and his front bench colleagues commit to taking action to ensure that companies in the oil and gas sector have got appropriate access to finance at this time?
Thank you, Minister, for an answer. Last week's budget saw one of the most iniquitous measures proposed by this government, cutting PIP for 40,000 disabled people in Scotland. I wonder when the Secretary of State for Scotland, or indeed the ministers in the office, first realised that this was the wrong thing to do. Around the Cabinet table, during the budget statement, or when on Sunday when the Prime Minister was forced to backtrack on it?
Stuart McDonald.
Secretary of State informed the House, indeed the people of Scotland, when he realised these cuts were wrong, or was he himself planning a resignation over the weekend?
Dr. Lisa Cameron.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. People in my constituency of Kilbride, Strathaven and Lesmahagow are extremely concerned by the perceived impact on the local economy and local jobs of the proposed closure of HMRC sites. What impact assessment is being made of these closures on our local economy and jobs?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Firstly, can I associate myself with remarks on Brussels, having spent many happy years in that wonderful city? Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the Secretary of State will be aware of the benefits the EU membership has brought us, such as paternal rights, holiday entitlement. Does he agree with me that we should be focusing on those benefits and no rerun of Project Fear?
Douglas Chapman.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Well, my right honourable friend recognised that a recent survey confirmed that the Scottish Government is one of the most trusted governments in the whole of Europe. We also look forward to the re-election of Nicola Sturgeon and her team, so we can continue being the most trusted government in the whole of Europe and beyond the 23rd of June.
At the time of the announcement for the £1 billion of funding for the carbon capture and storage scheme at Peterhead, the Energy Secretary was forced to deny that it was a bribe prior to the independence referendum. Now the withdrawal of this supposedly ring-fenced capital investment exposes it as just that. Will the Secretary of State take this opportunity today to apologise to the people of Scotland?
Kevin Newlands.
Does the Secretary of State agree with me that the Chancellor's reckless last-minute intervention to tweak the fiscal framework after it had been agreed by the Treasury and the Scottish Government? Was the Secretary of State of Scotland aware that the Chancellor's brinkmanship intentions that endangered the framework at the very last moment?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I congratulate the Minister on finding the Chancellor to have those discussions. Earlier this week, we thought he'd gone walkabout. The budget had £1 billion worth of cuts to the Scottish budget and £650 million worth of cuts to the English NHS. given the vote farce on social security cuts, does he think he might persuade the Chancellor to reverse Scotland's cuts and put in a good word for the English NHS as well?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To ask the Secretary of State for Scotland, did they discuss with the Chancellor the merits of an £8.5 billion corporation tax, £1 billion giveaway in capital gains and inheritance tax versus the proposed £4 billion cut to the disabled, and how that would affect the people in Scotland? Or did he sit there and do what he was told yet again?
Mr. Speaker, when terrorists attack Brussels or Paris or London or Glasgow, we are as one in our condemnation of these atrocities, as we equally condemn the killings of Yazidis, of Kurds, of Syrians and Iraqis by Daesh and other extremists. Hear, hear. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to those who work here and abroad to protect us in the face of the ongoing terrorist threat. So will the Prime Minister confirm that absolutely everything is being done to help the Belgian authorities and the people of Belgium in the wake of the Brussels attacks?
Yeah. Robertson.
A defining characteristic of a democratic society is our trust in our institutions and democratic oversight by parliamentarians of those who work so hard to keep us safe. We have that oversight with our police. We have that oversight with our security services. We don't yet have that with UK Special Forces under the Intelligence and Security Committee or the Defence Select Committee. Will the Prime Minister address this?
Donaldson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The list of government ministers and advisers who have resigned after the Prime Minister has expressed his full confidence in them is extensive. So can I ask the Prime Minister, does he still have full confidence in the Chancellor?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Academics, civil society and the Scottish Government have all condemned the Government's anti-lobbying clause in new grant agreements. How can the Prime Minister promote transparency, democracy and freedom of speech overseas when this clause is clamping down on those principles here in the UK?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you compare my constituency to the constituency of the Prime Minister and the Chancellor, you find that I have 4 times the numbers of youths unemployed, more than double the disabled claimant count and an average weekly wage of 20% less. Are these the reasons that the Prime Minister and Chancellor never understood, never had the compassion to realise that the disabled cuts were so obviously wrong when everybody else did? And I give him one further opportunity. Will he apologise to my constituents who have been scared witless over the past week?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The women of this country are tired of waiting. Waiting for equal pay, waiting for an end to maternity and pregnancy discrimination, and waiting for a fair deal for WASPy pensioners. It's 2016. Can I ask the Prime Minister, how much longer?
Mr. Speaker, the Secretary of State has provided some welcome reassurance about work underway to track and disrupt the movement of terrorists. Can she tell specifically about work that's underway both here and across Europe to disrupt the flow of weapons and explosives, which is of course also crucial to our safety?